Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Sawsher Siddiqui and my group is here to deliver a presentation on the topic of X-ray analytical techniques. The topic specific to me is PIXI, proton induced X-ray emission. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Sawsher Siddiqui from the Department of BS Biochemistry and my roll number is 003. Our resource person is Sir Dr. Hamad Mujid. So the contents of this presentation include introduction, history, X-rays and their production, PIXI technique principle, instrumentation, working, applications, advantages and in the last limitations. So what is PIXI techniques? Particle induced X-ray emission is an elemental analysis technique that employs a beam of energetic heavy charged particles, usually proton of 1 to 4 mega electron volt, to induce element specific X-ray emission. This technique was first used in 1970. The characteristic X-rays production cross-section from PIXI are very large, and the characteristic X-rays of element contained in a sample are easily measured by a silicon detector with a high energy resolution. Hence, sodium to uranium can be detected with a sensitivity of part per billion to part per million, and PIXI has been applied to trace elemental analysis. Talking about its history, this technique was first demonstrated at Lund Institute of Technology in Sweden in 1970. It involved uses of two novel techniques which include combining two technical developments into a novel variant of X-ray emission analysis with interesting capabilities. Now let me give a brief introduction of X-rays. X-rays are highly penetrating radiations. Their wavelength ranges from 10 picometer to 10 nanometer and energy in the range of 124 electron volt to 124 kilo electron volt. The X in X-rays stands for unknown because when Wilhelm Röntgen discovered X-rays in 1895 accidentally, he did not know the nature of the photon emitted, so he named it as X-rays. X as in unknown rays. There are two basic types, characteristic X-rays and Bremsstrahlung X-rays. First, characteristic X-rays. How are these produced? When in a target material a fast moving electron or photon knocked out an electron, the created vacancies is thus filled by the higher energy electron, and the loss of energy that take place is released in the form of X-rays, and these are called characteristic X-rays. Here you can see in this animation the electron is knocked out, inertial transition take place and energy released in the form of X-rays. While in Bremsstrahlung X-rays, the fast moving particle electron photon is slowed down by the target material and the energy lost in kinetic energy appear as release of X-rays. Here you can see in this animation the particle is slowed down and the X-rays are emitted. Next, we will talk about the basic principle of PIXI spectroscopy technique. As I told you earlier, there was the development of two technical innovations. One innovation was the use of lithium drifted silicon lithium detectors, which allow the simultaneous detection of the X-ray intensities of nearly all elements in the sample. The other novelty was that the X-ray emission was induced by a proton beam of mega electron volt energy instead of by an electron beam or Bremsstrahlung radiation from an X-ray tube. The proton beam ejects inertial electron from the atoms in the bombarded specimen or sample. The resulting vacancies are virtually instantaneously filled by outer shell electron, and this de-excitation process gives rise to the emission of X-rays whose energy are characteristic for the excited elements. Although the excitation mechanism is analogous to that in the electron microprobe, the much smaller the acceleration of the proton in the specimen leads to a much lower Bremsstrahlung continuum. The primary purpose of bombarding a specimen with protons or heavier ions in PIXI is to eject bound electrons from the K or L atomic shells. The vacancies will be filled within 10 raised to minus 16 seconds with the emission of characteristic radiation. For element with atomic number less than 20, protons are more efficient than photon or electron for producing characteristic X-rays, but for heavier element, photon-induced X-ray emission, X-ray fluorescence or XRF technique is more efficient. Now talking about instrumentation. PIXI instruments are normally divided into two groups. Those instruments suitable for macro PIXI with a beam with cross section of several millimeters square, and those suitable for micro PIXI with a beam spot of micrometer square cross section. The obvious requirement for both PIXI facilities is the availability of an ion accelerator capable of producing beam of few mega electron volts. The instrument written here are suitable for the macro PIXI. We will talk about micro PIXI later in this presentation. The instrumentation for macro PIXI includes ion accelerator, most commonly used Van de Graaff accelerator, target chambers, vacuum system, collimator and diffusers, charge measurement Faraday cup, sample changers and target holders, detectors, pulse processing system, X-ray absorber, data acquisition system and data analysis software. First of all, let us talk about ion accelerator. These are electrostatic accelerator. The most common type of accelerator used for the application of ion beam analysis technique from their early development until today are the electrostatic accelerator. Protons and alpha-based databases in the energy range of 1 to 3 mega electron volt are the most frequently needed ions. Broader range of energies will in principle enable a wider range of analytical possibilities. Currents of less than 1 milliampere easily delivered by the typical electrostatic accelerator are sufficient for all the existing characterization techniques. The most successful are Cockcroft-Walton and Van de Graaff accelerator. Now let's talk about RG Van de Graaff accelerator. The main part of the Van de Graaff accelerator is the high voltage generator. It consists of a continuous conveyor belt that carries electrostatic charges that are sprayed by the DC power supply up to a hollow terminal. The high DC potential is maintained by the charge continuously flowing back to the ground through a voltage divider of very high resistance. A beam of positive ion is extracted from the chamber with the RF oscillator ionized gas inside a terminal, that is positive ion source. Positive ion can be produced from any atom of the periodic table with many available ion sources. However, a difficult access to the ion source that needs the power at a potential of some million volts limits the range of ions that can be conveniently produced. Most versatile Van de Graaff accelerator are tandems. These have a negative ion source outside the accelerator and a two-stage acceleration with a pair of accelerator tube. A stripper channel inside the high voltage terminal is used to strip the electron from the accelerated beam of negative ion. Either a thin carbon foil of 2 to 5 gram per centimeter square or low pressure gas in a narrow channel is used as a stripper. Already accelerated ions are accelerated again over the some potential difference. Large range of energy and most of the ion species can be produced in tandem accelerator. Voltage as high as 20 megavolt could be achieved in tandem. However, tandem that accelerate ion in the low mega electron volt energy range are the most common used today. Due to frequent application of ion beams to the material characterization, electrostatic accelerators are mounted inside a pressure vessel tank that contains a high pressure insulating gas. The best gas used for this purpose is sulfur hexafluoride SF6, but various mixtures of N2 and CO2 are also used. Here you can see the Van de Graaff accelerator. The top left part of the picture shows the single stage accelerator, but the middle part shows the tandem. Here you can see there are gas stripper, accelerating tubes, analyzing magnet, switching magnet, and in top left corner you can see positive ion source which is being accelerated, and this beam is then This beam is then directed towards the scattering chamber where your sample will be placed. The next is target chambers and associated equipments. Target chambers are designed for the performance of experiment using charged particle beams. Their characteristics will depend on the requirements determined by the technique for which the chamber is needed. However, certain rules have to be followed. The beam of ion, that is usually proton, should be uniform and collimated. The X-ray detectors, that are usually silicon lithium detector, has to be positioned in order to view the characteristic X-rays emitted from the surface of the sample. The chamber has to be easily evacuated and hold sufficiently good vacuum, while all the other geometrical parameters, distances and angle between the beam, sample and detector have to be reproducible. If the Pixie quantification process is based on fundamental parameters, a reliable measurement of the total charge that emerged to the target is also one of the essential chamber functions. Depending on the type of the detection system, filter transmission and detector efficiency should be known together with characteristics of the sample itself. Here you can see the schematic diagram of the essential part of Pixie setup in left picture and in right picture. This is Pixie beam lineup at Ruder Boskovic Institute in Zagreb, Croatia. The next system is the vacuum system. The beam of high energy ions which is created is transported to the target chamber along a drift tube. That drift tube is maintained at high vacuum. A vacuum between 10 raised power minus 3 to 10 raised power minus 4 Pascal pressure will be sufficient for the minimum collision probability between the fast ion and the residual gas molecules. The only factor that needs to be considered at such a medium vacuum is the increase of beam target with the residual gas. Scattering, which would take place if there is a collision, increases the beam halo and disturbs the shape of the beam profile, which in turn can increase the intensity of the background peaks in Pixie spectrum. The drift tube, beamline and the chamber are preferably made of material having low outgassing rate and low vapor pressure. Material that become part of the vacuum system must have also sufficient mechanical strength to withstand a pressure difference. Stainless steel, glass windows and metal seals are all in respect the best solution having the lowest outgassing rates. Perspex windows and rubber seals are also frequently used due to much easier machining, but these are not recommended for the ultra-high vacuum. Vacuum stations attached to the target chamber or to the drift tubes are consisting of the high vacuum pump and the fore pump. Since no single pump yet has been developed which is able to pump down from atmospheric pressure to the high vacuum range, the selection of pumping principle for the particular application is defined by the main parameters: the lowest pressure, the pressure range, the pumping speed, and the exhaust pressure. The most common mechanical rotatory vane fore pump is used initially to reduce the pressure in the pumping volume until the high vacuum pump can take over. It also removes the exhaust from the high vacuum pump. In a mechanical rotary vane pump, compression expansion of the gas is used as a pumping principle. A large volume of the incoming low pressure air is compressed by a continuous reduction and exhausted to the atmosphere. In the past, the most frequently high vacuum pumps were the oil diffusion pumps. Nowadays, turbomolecular pumps are the most widely used in mega electron volt ion accelerator application. These are easy to operate. They enable fast start which can be of interest for the use at the target chamber. Cryogenic and ion pumps are the gas immobilization pump used especially when lower final pressure ultra high vacuum is required. In this picture, pressure ranges of typical vacuum pumps are given. In order to obtain the low pressure in the range 10 to raise power minus 3 to 10 to raise power minus 4 Pascal, use of the mechanical pump for the initial and exhaust pumping is the most convenient, while diffusion, turbomolecular ion and cryogenic pump can be used for the reaching final pressure. The next instrument is collimators and diffusers. To prepare the beam for sample analysis, it needs to have the uniform distribution along the appropriately shaped cross section. The shape of the beam cross section is defined by a series of collimators. They are typically circular holes of diameter ranging from less than millimeter up to 1 centimeter, but most often between 3 to 8 millimeter. In any case, a minimum of two series of collimator is needed. The first collimator or collimators define the beam shape, while the last one is anti-scattering collimator. The anti-scattering collimator reduces the beam that is scattered on the edges of the beam defining collimator. Appropriate shape of the sample irradiation can also be achieved by using the nuclear microprobe system. In nuclear microprobe, the ion beam is focused by a series of magnetic quadruples, doublet, triplet, or quadruple to micron spot size. A focused beam is scanned over the sample surface using the scanning system, magnetic or electrostatic deflection. In this picture, you can see the nuclear microprobe system. Next is charge measurement. In most of the PIXI quantification procedures, the exact knowledge of the total charge that arrived at the sample is essential. One of the two ways of charge measurement have to be performed. The first way is the direct measurement using the charge integrator connected to Faraday cup and the sample. The second possibility is the indirect charge measurement using some other process that is charge dependent. The direct measurement of total charge delivered to a sample can be done by connecting electrically the sample holder and the Faraday cup to the charge integrator. If the sample is thin enough, the beam transmitted through the sample will be stopped in the beam stop. For the thick specimens, the charge will be collected directly from the sample holder. The beam stop is often lined with a graphite to prevent high energy gamma or X-ray emission that can increase the PIXI background if other materials such as aluminium are used. Unfortunately, secondary electrons that escape from the sample can cause an overestimation of the total charge. This can be solved if secondary electron suppression electrodes is added in front of or around the sample holder and the Faraday cup. Probably the most efficient way of electron suppression can be achieved if Faraday cup and sample holder are polarized by positive potential. This can be performed by a battery up to 100 volt connected in series between the Faraday cup and charge digitizer. Here you can see schematic presentation of direct and indirect charge measurement. Next thing is sample changers and target holder. It is essential for the PIXI setup to be equipped. With automated target changer. Signals needed to trigger the target changer to step onto the next sample is usually sent by a data acquisition computer, allowing fully automatic analysis. The sample holder itself, especially if the targets are thick, needs to be conductive and electrically connected to the earth directly or through the charge integrator. To keep the geometry constant, the sample surface that will be exposed to the beam has to be always in the same plane. Error caused by the changes in geometry can be quite significant. Construction of the sample holder depends mainly on the typical sample that are analyzed. At the moment, there is no standard sample holder shape, but each PIXI laboratory has its own approach. Still, care is needed when the size of the beam cross section is close to the size of the frame. Inappropriate collimation can allow beams scatter from the slits to hit the sample frame and thus produce unwanted background peaks in the spectrum. Next, we will talk about geometrical arrangement. The geometrical arrangement of the sample and detector is very important in PIXI analysis. The most commonly used angle for detector is 135 degree. But if the used detector cap has a large diameter, it might be better to place the detector at 90 degree. Position of the PIXI detector and the sample are of importance for the positioning of other detectors that might be simultaneously used. One of these is the detector position into the backward angle, usually between 150 and 170. Typically, it takes place at 165 degree. Sometimes a ray detector for PIXI measurement is used simultaneously, positioned usually at an angle of the 90 degree. All geometrical parameters have to be very well defined. Otherwise, significant error can occur if some of the angles are not consistent. This is one of the possible arrangement for PIXI analysis. Here are two X-ray detector, one Orbius detector and one gamma ray detector. Now detectors. The most commonly used detector are silicon lithium semiconductor detector. These are the most suitable choice for the PIXI spectroscopy. The intrinsic germanium detector are a second choice of semiconductor detector. Materials with a large band gaps can be used as the room temperature detectors, with mercury iodide giving the best obtained results. Increasing number of other X-ray detection principles such as semiconductor-based microcalorimeter or superconductor tunnel junction cryogenically cooled detectors may soon increase use of alternative X-ray detector. This is the schematic presentation of a semiconductor detector. Now coming toward the pulse processing system. Output of the most pulse type radiation detector is a charge pulse. The charge pulse is too small to be useful for all semiconductor detectors. Therefore, a charge sensitive preamplifier has to be used. From preamplifier, the signal is fed to amplifier. It accepts the signal from preamplifier and produces output pulse that is approximately Gaussian in shape. During reset and reset recovery time, an inhibit signal is generated in order to prevent data collection during this period. From the amplifier, the signal is analyzed by the analog to digital converter ADC. It analyzes the maximum amplitude of each pulse and converts it to a digital value. Shielded coaxial cable are used in all connections to minimize the pickup of noises from stray electromagnetic field. The entrance window of the most common X-ray detector is made of beryllium foil. Protons scattered from the target in having energy higher than 1.3 mega electron volt can pass through 25 micrometer of beryllium, with the rest of their energy being deposited in detector. Backscattered proton can be avoided either by introduction of an additional filter or by an appropriate proton deflection system. Now the pile-up signal. Since silicon lithium X-ray detectors require relatively long pulse processing time, the probability that the two pulses arrive within the resolving time of the system becomes significant at the signal rate above 1000 Hz. Distortion of PIXI spectrum results with an additional sum peak at the double energy of the parent peak. The most elegant way of the elimination of pile-up effect is the use of on-demand beam deflection. After the arrival of the pulse to the detector, the pre-amplifier pulse triggers the electrostatic deflector that deflects the beam of the collimator system and keep it deflected during the whole processing system. Test pulse processing through a whole system during the measurement can be also a convenient way of determination of the system dead time, which is very important in the quantitative PIXI analysis. X-ray absorbers. Much higher X-ray production cross-section for light element and their generally higher natural abundance results in much higher yield of low energy X-rays below 5 kilo electron volt. Practical limitation of silicon lithium detector to accept high count rate make it frequently important to use X-ray absorber that are filters that are placed in front of X-ray detector. This is the diagram of schematic presentation of the pulse processing system. The signal is fed to preamplifier, which is directed towards to amplifier, and from amplifier it is fed to analog to digital converter, and then data is processed further. Now data acquisition system. First of all, we have multi-channel analyzer, which is MCA. Energy of the detected X-ray is converted in the pulse processing electronics to the voltage pulse. This is an analog signal which has to be converted to a digital number in a device called multi-channel analyzer MCA. The MCA spectrum consists of a certain number of channels, which number is a linear function of X-ray energy. Each channel is actually a counter that counts event in the corresponding energy interval, forming the final energy spectrum on the MCA screen. Now we have MCA hardware and software. In past, a standalone MCA incorporating all the function was for many years used as the main data acquisition instrument for various techniques. But by the development of computer technology, data acquisition became one of the tasks of the data analysis computer. MCA is today just an electronic module inserted in one of the slots of the personal computer with an external analog to digital converter. The memory needed to store the data is now the main computer memory and the hard disk, while the computer screen is used for the spectrum display. Moving on, we have MCA softwares. Data acquisition software today offer many advanced functions that are energy calibration, peak search and peak identification, peak centroid and peak shape needed for the energy calibration, calculation and energy resolution control, calculation of integral or net area counts in the peak, different spectrum display features like expand, overlog, logline, vertical scale, hardware control function. Now, data analysis software. A large variety of Pixie software packages exist today, with most of them available to calculate the both X-ray peak, that is intensity, and respective elemental concentration. Many of these programs have proven their versatility by their usage in different Pixie groups. While selecting the particular software, attention has to be given to the database using the program, modeling of the peak shape, and treatment of the spectrum background. One of the most used software is GUPix, that is today probably the most widespread software. Another criteria for the choice of software is the sample. For example, GeoPix is used for the geological samples. It is the list of some software that are being used in Pixie analysis. Now, after instrumentation, we will talk about the working of Pixie. It is the experimental Pixie setup. Following are the basic steps involved in a Pixie analysis. First of all, beam of proton is generated and accelerated using Van de Graaff accelerator. Then the beam is focused to get a uniform distribution using magnets and collimators. Then beam is incident on the sample placed in a sample holder. X-rays are emitted and are detected by silicon lithium detector. These send signal to data acquisition setup. Preamplifier and amplifier enhances the signal strength and send it to analyzer. From analyzer, signal is fed to the computer where different Pixie software interpret it and shows the result on the computer screen. Using different software, one can determine both elemental composition and concentration present in target. This is the Pixie analysis of a copper-based alloy sample using the GUPixWin software. Here you can see the three peaks. One is the major element, which is copper, which is in 99% concentration or greater. Other two, titanium and strontium, are trace elements. Next we will talk about micropixie. It is also called nuclear microprobe or micropixie. In this, the particle beam is collimated or focused down to dimensions in the range of 1 to 5 mm. The best system currently available are able to produce a spatial resolution of up to 0.5 mm at the specimen while maintaining an ion current that is useful for Pixie analysis, that is above 100 picoampere. Much better peak to background ratios and consequently low detection limits are obtainable by micropixie. The normal components of a micropixie comprise a particle accelerator with a very bright ion source, precision collimators, magnetic or electrostatic quadruples for focusing, and a scanning system to raster the beam over the sample as in scanning electron microscope. The reflection system in principle is identical to that for macropixie, but usually includes complementary surface barrier detector for scattered particles and for particles emitted in nuclear reaction to extend the analytical arsenal. Micropixie may also be carried out under non-vacuum conditions. However, non-vacuum micropixie is only feasible for moderately small beam size 20 to 100 mm. Here is the setup of micropixie. The instruments are shown in this diagram are: A represents the electrostatic particle accelerator, while B is primary object aperture and C is secondary collimator. D is a focusing system and E is scanning system. F represents video camera and microscope. G is surface barrier detector for scattered particle. H is X-ray detector. I is specimen. J is surface barrier detector for transmitted particle. K is front end CAMAC with database. L is the main computer. and display with elemental map. Now we will talk about the applications of PIXI. Because the PIXI analysis method is simple and can be used to analyze almost all elements simultaneously with high sensitivity, it is now used in a broad range of fields and applications such as contamination monitoring of food, material science, medicine, biology, fisheries, agriculture, geology, petrology, environmental study, archaeology, resource searching, semiconductors, metals, chemistry, astrophysics, earth science, and criminal investigation. Well, we will talk about the food analysis using PIXI. PIXI is very high sensitive in case of absorption of metallic element and heavy elements in the biological sample. Therefore, PIXI is suitable for analyzing biological sample. Research on food inspection swiftly followed the development of PIXI analysis. In this figure, the PIXI analysis of canned tomato juice is shown. You can see the different elements with their concentration in parts per million in the table. Here is iron, copper, zinc, cadmium, etc. Now, the biological and medical sample can also be analyzed by using PIXI. The element of interest in biological material are either essential minor or trace element like potassium, calcium, manganese, iron, etc., or toxic trace element like cadmium and lead. In this graph, you can see the whole blood sample of a person using the PIXI analysis. There are different trace element or can be seen in this blood sample, but there is a constant concentration of yttrium. The yttrium element was contaminated in the sample as a standard element. Other elements are sodium, phosphorus, sulfur, potassium, etc. The result of PIXI analysis may be useful for diagnosing certain health conditions. PIXI analysis of airborne dust has been carried out for many years and has contributed towards the production of environmental destruction by air pollution. In this graph, dust in the atmosphere in Japan is collected and analyzed through PIXI analysis. Here, many iron elements were observed in this spectrum. These were iron particulate from studied tires, which resulted in the prohibition of such tires. It is another PIXI analysis of a river water and hot spring water. You can see the concentration of different elements in both the waters. PIXI can be applied for the analysis of archaeological sample. In this photograph, the earthenware depicting a human face which was discovered at the ruins of Miyagi Kamikawana shell mound approximately 7,000 years ago. The right side of the photo shows the distribution of calcium and iron around an eye captured by a PIXI camera. It is believed that ancient Japanese people, Jomon, had the custom of painting around eyes with the red iron oxide like American indigenous people. So it is from that painting. Elemental analysis for micron area. By focusing beam to a diameter within 1 micrometer, intracellular element distributions can be obtained as a picture. A beam spot with a diameter of 0.5 micrometer and beam current of 20 picoampere achieve 3 megaelectron volt proton, and hence the elemental distribution of the epithelial cell of a blood vessel from a cow is obtained using a micro-PIXI camera with 2.6 megaelectron volt proton. It is a picture of that epithelial cell. PIXI can be used to quantify food contamination by radioisotopes. Small parts of brown rice harvested in Fukushima in autumn of 2011 were polluted with radioactive cesium. It was problematic because the specific activity of a few sections of this small part exceeded the standard value 500 becquerel per kilogram at this time and 100 becquerel per kilogram thereafter in 2012. However, by polishing the contaminated brown rice, the specific activity of the polished rice, which is white rice, decreased to below the standard value. Then rice was grown in soil containing cesium and subjected to a section of brown rice to micro-PIXI analysis. This analysis shows that the radioisotope remain in the germ and it was not incorporated into the rice. Now, what are the advantages of Pixie techniques? Here are many advantages of Pixie techniques, including minimum background radiation. It detects all elements heavier than sodium. It is fast. It is sensitive. It does not dilute a sample. This technique is local. This technique has indeed an essential feature in the field of investigation. It is non-destructive. Well, there are certain limitations of Pixie. The limitations of Pixie are primarily in regard to what elements it can identify. Pixie is accurate for elements above sodium. Anything below sodium will not show up as the element's rays will be absorbed prior to reaching the detector. While external beam Pixie spectrometer can be used to analyze whole sample, the ideal sample is homogeneous. If the sample is not homogeneous, it is best practice to test multiple sections and take the average after the quantitative results. This provides semi-qualitative data but is within an acceptable error range. For internal Pixie analysis, homogeneous samples are also ideal as the X-rays are emitted from only the top few microns. Well, the summary of this whole presentation is the method of Pixie analysis is now sufficiently sophisticated technology and is highly suitable for the analysis of biological, medical, and environmental samples. Therefore, our hope is that general public will be able to use Pixie analysis freely. However, not so many accelerators can be applied to Pixie analysis. On the other hand, there are now many cyclotron accelerators of proton energy fixed in the range 10 to 20 megaelectron-volt for cancer and brain diagnosis using PET tomography, positron emission tomography. For example, there are 151 in Japan. Though the sensitivity of Pixie analysis using such high energy proton is not as high, the promotion of the use of these accelerators to Pixie analysis will contribute to development of this field. Well, that is all from my side. Thank you for listening.